Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at uranium energy. It is time for another update, and today we will be discussing about the extension to the downside that honestly we were fully expecting. We had our resistance areas that we needed to break in order to actually indicate that this movement to the downside is done, and since we didn't do that, we were actually still tracking lower prices in the previous video. But before we get there, I would like to go quickly through the larger time frame for any of you who might be new. And here we are tracking this series of 1-2 setups, and then here we have the large wave tree, which we are expecting to develop to back up the previous structure. Now, within this pattern in the wave tree, we don't necessarily have any clarity or any indication of it playing right now, at least not in a clear way, because so far we only have 3 waves up that are clear, and within those we actually seem to be developing them in ABC structures, which means we are developing a diagonal pattern overall. Now, that is what we are tracking mainly. This is the preferred interpretation at the moment, and we have a wave 1 up, a wave 2 down, a third wave up, a fourth wave down, and then we are looking for the wave 5 to be unfolding, assuming that we have indeed bottomed within the wave 4. And then there of course is an interpretation which could allow for the wave 3 to unfold in a pretty direct fashion, and that would be within the blue scenario, where basically we would be tracking a series of 1-2 setups in this area, with the latest being here a 1-2. Now this would be in a very short time frame here, a 1-2, and we even have the area of support for the blue scenario, which extends down to the $10.6 still holding, which allows us to technically track this idea. But I have to say, it's honestly not a preferred interpretation for me. It just looks off, doesn't generally fit with the broader market sentiment, and I just find it much more likely that we will end up following through here in the white scenario, building only a 5th wave up. Now, with that said, even within this additional wave 5 to the upside, we still expect substantial potential to be formed within this area, within something like an ABC structure, and in the end this will build a larger diagonal pattern. So it will either be something like a 1-2 that could be built for the larger wave 3, so we could still build another wave 1 and look for another correction in a wave 2 that would align with several other charts. But I do have to say, from a large time frame perspective, I could see this working out within a different interpretation where basically this wave 1 would have never been finished. For example, this is one of the interpretations, and we would need to extend it all the way up here, and in that case we would have still a 1, 2, 3, 4th and a 5th to have unfolded, and that would be a much larger wave 1, and it would expect actually potentially a quite considerably deeper correction in a follow-up wave 2. Now, this is not for us to focus on, at least not at the moment. That will be once we have here a full structure complete, because right now we are still looking for an additional high in this area, and in that case we can track here internally the correction in the wave 4, in which we expect to find a bottom and create the reversal within the area between the $13.7 all the way down to the $9 level, and still continue to new all-time highs afterwards. Now, so far within this correction we have been tracking it within the yellow scenario, and inside it we have an ABC structure which seems to be unfolding. Now, in the previous video we were looking for the ideal target to be reached within this wave C to the downside, and I believe we have actually even got to it at that point, the 100% extension, the $11.6 level, and it did work out in creating a quite substantial relief rally. But we had this resistance area, which I provided to you in the very last video, to watch out for a possible breakout and a confirmation that indeed we have bottomed within this correction here. And clearly that wasn't the case. We pushed into it, but then we still followed through lower, and in this case we may be looking for a 5th wave in this area. At this point we are tracking this pattern to the downside as an impulse, and in that case we would actually need this wave 5 to the downside to unfold as a 5-wave pattern, and so far I see 3 waves complete at most. Now, sometimes these corrections end early, and I do have to say we may have actually bottomed. I do have a scenario in which I actually don't need any additional lows to consider this count full. Yeah, I could track this as an ending diagonal within the wave C, in which case I would consider here an ABC pattern within this fifth wave to the downside in yellow, and yeah, it could technically be done, and we could have already a bottom within this correction. But at this point, we need to still break some relevant areas of I didn't take this right, some relevant areas of resistance before we can actually have such an indication. And in this case, they would be, let's see, so it's for wave 4 in a diagonal pattern, and in that case, that would be the 61.8% retracement of the wave 3. And so far, we haven't necessarily broken it, so we may still be in danger of still forming another low. But if we actually manage here to push above the $12 level, well, I do have other interpretations which could still allow for lower prices, but honestly, this is probably the most likely interpretation that could take us lower. The others could work out in something like a 1, 2, then this would be an A wave of the wave 3. We could look for a wave B, and then a C wave still to take us lower, but the $11.9 level is the first signal that we have bottomed. And then if we want to take a larger approach, a larger area of resistance for an even more clear signal, well, we could allow the 78.6% retracement as well, which is at the $12.2 level. And then if we actually break above that, well, in that case, most likely this pattern is done. This wave C is complete. We did technically fulfill all 5 waves. We have quite a consistent divergence here, even on the 4-hour time frame, and we do see a pretty clear structure. So technically, we did fulfill all the minimum expectations for the entire correction, especially from this larger time frame, not the nano that we are tracking here internally within this wave C. Here, ideally, we actually get another low, but again, we don't always get those, and sometimes we do just start pushing higher. And for now, these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.